So hi everybody, thank you for joining us today. In today's session, I'm going to be walking you through Corel AfterShot Pro, and we're going to be looking at all of the main features. I'm going to start off by taking you on a tour of the AfterShot workspace, just so that we know where everything is and where to find specific features. So if you look at the screen at the moment, you'll see that the AfterShot application is roughly divided into three areas. On the left, we have the library, file system and output panels. The library panel is going to allow us to work with catalogs or a file system. I'll be going into more detail in that in just a second. We also have the output options here when we've finished editing and we've come to output our work. In the middle, we have a preview area. Now, at the moment, I'm in thumbnail view, as you can see here at the top, with our three view icons. You can switch from thumbnail view, which is of course really useful if you're working with dozens or hundreds of photos and want to do some quick sorting out. At the bottom, you also have a small slider bar that will allow you to adjust the size of the thumbnails so you get the maximum number of photos on your preview area. We also have the standard view here, and the standard view will show us the content of a specific folder or catalog in film strip view, while giving us a good overview of the selected image or images. And finally, we have an image view. Now you can also toggle between these three views using the shortcut keys F6, F7 and F8. So if you see my screen jumping between views during this session, it's because I'm using the F6, F7 and F8 keys. Over on the right, we have our panels, our different tabs with all the adjustment tools, many of which we're going to be using today. So let's get started. Now I'm going to start at the top by first of all going into AfterShot's preferences. So if we start with the general preferences, you can see here the location of the user folder. Now, why is this important? I'm just going to jump to the user folder, which is this one. Now, if you're using AfterShot on multiple machines, let's say you've got AfterShot on your laptop, on your desktop machine, and perhaps on another machine, perhaps during your time working with AfterShot, you might create output batches, custom output batches. You might create copy sets. We'll be looking at those as well as we're going along. We have our plugins here. So these are the plugins that I've downloaded and installed. And we also have our presets. Now, if you've set up presets and copy sets and custom batches, you don't want to have to be putting everything on USB sticks and transferring it across to new machines. So a quick tip here you might find useful is if you share some of these photos, for example, presets, plugins, copy sets, batches, etc., if you share them to something perhaps like Dropbox, and then again you can access those from your other machines and just quickly update the folders in your other versions of AfterShot. So going down, we have display settings here that you can set up, high quality previews, show file names on thumbnails, etc., and the background color here. Copy sets. Later on, when we make adjustments to an image, we can actually, using Control-C and Control-V, copy and paste any of the adjustments we've made from one image to another image or a set of images. If you use the key shortcuts under copy sets, you can, for example, just copy and paste just color corrections if you don't want to copy the rest. So you've got here different color sets, different copy sets, and you can also add new ones by clicking on the Add New button. You have the keyboard shortcuts here, if you want to know which keyboard shortcut performs which command, and you have other settings here that you might find useful. Now, up here at the top, we have this little button with an arrow, and this is going to export images that we've finished processing in AfterShot to an external editor. Now, AfterShot can be installed on Windows machines, on Macintosh, and also on Linux. So by clicking on external editor either here or here, I can actually choose a photo editing application to send my images to if I want to do photo editing. Now, what we're doing mainly in AfterShot is we're applying photo adjustments. We'll be looking at these photo adjustments as we go through the tabs here. But if you want to do more artistic stuff like using filters and effects or creating photo montages, then that's something you'll probably want to be doing in Corel PaintShop Pro, Corel Photo Paint, Photoshop, etc., etc. So I'm just going to configure my editor now by clicking on Editor, choose. I'm going down to Corel PaintShop Pro, and I'm going to choose Corel PaintShop Pro as my photo editor. I can also choose my color space, my file format, if I want to use 8 or 16-bit, and I can choose my resolution. Now that I've added an external editor, the icon has changed here, but you can at any time, and I'm opening up this image in PaintShop Pro, which I wasn't intending to do, we'll just let this run. You can at any time go back into AfterShot's preferences and of course choose a different editor if you want to. So, and you can see how fast this is, how fast the whole thing works. So let's just close this down again. So let's have a look at this panel on the left. Now, there are two ways of working with AfterShot. You can either work directly with images in a folder. So I've got here my directory view, which is showing me the folders on my PC, but also on my network or on any external drives that I might have. Now, some of the folders at the top have stars, and this is because I've taken a folder, I've right-clicked, and I've said, bookmark this folder. By bookmarking a folder, what I'm doing is I'm actually adding it to the top with a star, so that each time I want to work with that folder, I don't have to navigate through 100 different subfolders to get to it. So this makes it quite quick accessing specific favorite folders. Now, on the other hand, under library, we also have our AfterShot catalogs. So what is the difference? Now, if we're working with a file system, we're actually working with images directly on our hard drive, so we can edit an image quickly, send it to PaintShop Pro, or go to File, Export, and export this image. A catalog is a virtual folder. It doesn't contain any images as such. It contains references to the image. So I can pull in folders and images into a catalog that could be situated in different locations on my hard drive or in the network or an external drive. The huge advantage of working with catalogs is that when you have your images sorted into a catalog, you've got the whole power of the metadata browser behind this. If, for example, I click on my AfterShot webinar catalog, which I created for this session, and I just drill down here, I've got all these search criteria to work with. So in this whole, let's just make this a little bit smaller here. In this whole folder of images, I can search for images by bit depth. I can search by camera make. For example, I've got 38 different Canon camera photos in here. I can drill down and refine my searching even further by clicking on a particular camera, clicking on refine, and you'll notice the rest of the other Canon models disappear here. So it's making this overview a lot easier. I can also drill down by time and date. So I can click down here and choose, I only want to see any images taken in November. Again, I can click on refine, and I can keep adding refinement points here to really drill down through this folder. To remove these search criteria, you just click on the X's here and you're back to your complete folder. Now, I can either have just a jumbled collection of images within one catalogue, but I can also have a catalogue as I have here that has got subfolders within it. So here, for example, I'm still seeing all of these criteria here, but I could also select one folder and say link to catalog, and once I say link to catalog, it's going to reduce all of the information here, so it applies only to this catalogue. So let's just click link to catalogue, and now the whole thing has been reduced. I actually took these images with an iPhone, so I've only got a limited set of data that I can search with here, but linking the search metadata search criteria to this one folder within my catalogue has again made searching so much easier. So I'm just going back up to my catalogue here. Now, as we move along the top, we can see at the moment my images here in my catalogue are being sorted by name in ascending order. If I click here, I can sort by descending order. I also have the option of sorting by date, rating, label. So again, I have other search criteria here. So if we look at our rating panel here, I can add a star rating, I can add labels, and I can add flags. Now, normally I will start from right to left because this flag here is flag as reject. So I can basically, if I've taken, I don't know, a couple of dozen photos, I can hold down the control key, quickly select all the photos that I think aren't really that good, and just tag them as rejects. Any ones that I particularly want to keep, I can tag here with this is a keeper. As far as the color labels are concerned, I personally use green for images that are good to go. So these can go off to the printer, they're finished. Anything that I'm still working on, I tag as red. And you can basically use these labels to tag the images in a way that's useful for your workflow. And we also have the good old star rating here. As you hover over an image, you can also add star ratings directly to an image. So if I select this image here, I can add a star rating. And let's just make this a little bit bigger so we can see what we're doing. So I've actually given this a reject flag because the quality wasn't very good. And this one has a 3-star rating. And I flagged this as a keeper. So you can go through here, tagging and flagging your images. And you can sort them using this drop-down list. Now, this drop-down list searches by one criteria only. But we also have a filter panel here. If I click on the filter panel, I can search by more than one criteria at once. So I could say, show me all 3-star images that have been tagged with a red label, meaning I still have to do some work on them. So I can quickly drill down and sort my images either using these icons here or by using the metadata browser. Now, it's really important when you're using filters, you can see here that our filter icon has now turned green. If I close this window, I'm not disabling the filter. The filter is still active, so I'm not seeing any of my other images now. So in order to get back to my standard view, I need to go back into the filters and just turn off these filters again, just to get back to where I was in the beginning. Now, we also have an output tab here. Before I forget that, back to catalogue. To create a catalogue, you right-click in a space here, say catalogue, new catalogue. So I'm just going to create a new folder and just call this new catalogue. And you can create as many catalogues as you like, and can create catalogues for creating specific projects, for example. And I'm just going to select this folder. So here's my new catalogue. Now, to get photos into my catalogue, I can go to my file system, choose a folder containing images that I want to insert. I don't have any in here at the moment, but just choose a folder with images that I want to import into that catalogue. Do a right click, say import folder, and now I can choose which of my catalogues I want to import those images into. So I'm just going to cancel out of this. So let's have a quick look at our last tab here, which is output. Now, AfterShot has a hugely powerful batch output feature. It is really, really fast, really powerful. And you've got some standard batch outputs here. These batch outputs can be accessed by, let's go and first of all choose some images here. Now you can either select some images and drag them onto one of these batch outputs, or you can use the keyboard shortcut to just activate it and it will start the batch output for you. So we have here 16-bit TIFF, 8-bit TIFF. Download is for downloading from your digital camera. If we click on gallery, this is going to put a folder together with you. I can just show you that quickly as I did this a little earlier. So if I select the images and click on gallery, it's going to output everything ready to be uploaded to a website. So I've got my index HTML here. If I just click on this, it's going to give you a web gallery ready to go. So you've got everything you need to upload to the web. So that's another output option that you have. JPEG full size and JPEG proof, that's about roughly 50% of the quality. If you just want to send it to a customer for approval in a lower quality than the final output quality. To create a new batch output, just right click, say new. And now we can give our batch a new name. We can export our processed images, choose a folder, choose one of these options here. And then we can choose the different settings here, which format we want, the quality we want, if we want the images resized or not, output name and location, image settings, so you've got the color space here to choose from, metadata. Some people like to, if you're a professional photographer, you want to leave your EXIF data and ITPC data embedded with your images, of course, because you want to also embed your copyright. Or you might want to preserve your privacy. You might want to strip out all of the metadata. So these options you have, and once you click OK, your new batch job will be added to the list here. The same goes for printing. You've got various print outputs. You can right click and create a new job. And if you're living in the United States, you also have the option of outputting for SmugMug, which is going to let you basically upload your images and have these printed into books or all the other wonderful things that SmugMug offers. So these are the panels on the left. Now let's keep moving across the screen here. What do we have at the top here? Over on the right, we have our layer manager, which we're going to be looking at in a second when we start using masking tools and blemish removal tools. So I'm just going to quickly go, just select an image here and just go into standard view. Now up here, we also have a magnifying glass. So if you want to take a quick look at any details in your image, you can just zoom in there with a magnifying glass and just take a quick look at that. Otherwise, you can run your images as a slideshow or go into full screen preview. Now, when you're in standard view, you're actually given a sort of short custom toolbar here. So we've got a pan tool, click white, crop tool, straighten, red eye removal, blemish fixing, and we've also got some region cursors for creating selections, which we can see in our layer manager. And I'll be using some of these tools as I go through this list of images here. Over here we have our zoom bar, and we can zoom right up to 800% magnification. So huge magnifying properties here. 1:1 gives me the image in actual size, and this icon here will allow me to fit my image perfectly to the available preview space that we have. What we have at the bottom of the screen is the information bar. So it's basically giving me the name of my image. I've got a Canon RAW file here. It'll tell me which folder it's in, and it's just one of 31 images in that particular folder. As I hover over the image, I'm getting the exact XY coordinate of my cursor, and it will show me also the RGB value As I'm moving over, you can see all of that changing of where my cursor happens to be. Now, this icon here, I hope you can all see it on your screen, is the soft proofing icon. If you're working professionally, there's a good chance that you actually be calibrating your screen. So if you have calibrated your screen, you might want to load your particular profile here. And if your profile is not appearing in this list, then you go back to File and Preferences. Let's go there quickly. And under soft proofing, I have the ability to add profiles, or if I've got a lot of profiles here that I'm never going to use, I can actually remove profiles and just slim down this list here. So over here we have an icon which enables multi-image viewing. So if I just click on that for a moment, as I select multiple images, I'm going to have these images come up on screen. And why this is useful is because it's not only is AfterShot Pro non-destructive as far as editing is concerned, you also have the option of creating multiple versions of your image. So this image here, for example, this is my original image. I can right click on the image and say version and create a new version from the current image. As well, this could be an image that I've already done some editing to, but I just want to create a copy of that. Or I can create a version from the master image or from import. So I'm just going to do this. So I've now got a couple of versions of the same image, and I can apply different settings to each version and just compare the versions with each other to see which version I prefer the best. Now, how is it that, or how can Corel AfterShot Pro work non-destructively? Now, whenever you make any adjustments to an image in AfterShot, it's going to create simultaneously in the same folder as the original image, a so-called sidecar file, which is in XMP format. Now, there's a standard XMP format, and that's the format used, for example, by PaintShop Pro and by Adobe Photoshop. The standard XMP format has one disadvantage, and that is it can only retain the changes made to a single version of an image, which is why if you look at the XMP file or a standard XMP file, it's always going to be the name of the file .xmp. AfterShot Pro, on the other hand, has a proprietary AfterShot Pro XMP file format, and this enables AfterShot Pro to retain the adjustments made to multiple versions of an image. So you've got, if I make adjustments to all three of these images, the AfterShot Pro XMP file is going to remember all of the adjustments that I've made to those three images. So let's have a look now at, is there anything else I wanted to show you? Yes, we're going to look at the right panel now. I always get excited doing these webinars, folks, because there's always so much to show you and so little time that I try to make the most of the hour that we have. So moving on. So let's have a look at the right hand side. So here we have our adjustment panels. Now these adjustment panels have a specific order, but by just grabbing a tab here, you can actually drag these tabs around and just reorder these tabs in any order you see fit. Now each tab can contain multiple areas of adjustment. So the standard adjustment tab, for example, has the histogram, the basic adjustments and presets. You can pin any of these sub areas, if you like, to stop them moving around just by hitting this pin button. So I'm going to select this image here. Let's go back and select just one image. So I'm going to select this image here and just apply, starting off, an auto level. So the auto level is just going to adjust the white and black points. So you can see here the clipping percentages of white pixels and black pixels in the image. So I'd like you to take a look at this area at the bottom here. So let's just apply auto level. And you can probably see that slightly changing. I'm just going to undo it and redo it again. So you can see that it's subtly changed the contrast and the relationship of the white to black areas. Now, if you ever want to undo any changes that you've made in AfterShot, at the bottom you have the ability to reset all. And what this will do is it's going to reset every change that you've ever made to this image. But if you only want to undo certain steps, let's say you've done 4 or 5 different adjustments to this image, you can go up to View and go down and open the History tab. And the History tab is going to show everything that you've done to this image. So you can jump in at any point and change, and you can see the temperature change in here, auto level on. So you can go in and jump into any particular level of adjustment that you made to that image. So I'm just going to go down here, just keep moving down through here. And let's have a look at this image here. So I've got an image here which is obviously washed out, no contrast, faded colours, that needs a lot doing to it. Now, in addition to auto level, we have Athentech's perfectly clear functionality built into AfterShot. And what this is going to do is it's not going to do a sort of an auto level, it's also going to sharpen the image, it's going to work with the colors. It's going to do 4 or 5 different steps to get the best that it can out of its image. So let's just click this and see what it's going to do. So I like what it's done to this area, but I'm not too happy because I've got some sort of vignetting going on here. I've got very saturated colors in the corner and I've got some darkening. So I'm now going to jump over from standard to detail, because I'm now going to apply a lens correction. Some of what we see going on here is due to some of the lens distortion that most camera lenses bring with them. So I'm just going to enable lens correction. And not only do I have this vignetting going on, but I don't know if you can notice it, there's a slight curve here on the horizon because I'm getting a sort of a cushion distortion going on. So let's click on Enable Lens Correction. And AfterShot Pro has already recognized that this image was taken with a Canon EOS. So let's just click on this. And you've just, I'll do this again, and you'll just notice how that image is straightened out. All I need to do now is get rid of the vignetting. So under Lens Correction, we also have Enable Vignette Correction. So let's just turn this on. So the vignette correction allows you to either lighten up the edges, let's do this quite extreme, or darken the edges. And I'm just going to adjust this until I get the image as good as I can get it, which is about here. So I've applied those corrections to my image. If I now have a whole series of, I believe that's Alcatraz here, if I have a whole series of images that were just as faded and distorted as my original image, what I could do next is go up to Edit and copy image settings. And a little earlier we saw under the preferences that we had something called copy sets. In this case I want to copy all of the settings, so I would choose Control C, just normal copy, and all I would need to do is select the rest of my Alcatraz image, press Control V, and it would apply all of the settings we've just made to the rest of my images. If on the other hand I only want to apply perfectly clear, I only want to apply the lens correction, I can at any time go into the preferences, go to copy sets, because I haven't learnt these off by heart unfortunately, but just make a note of which of these you want to change or want to apply, and just use the shortcut key and it will apply only those settings. So let's have a look at an image where obviously we've got overexposure here. Now I'm working mostly with raw images during this demonstration for obvious reasons, but I can work with JPEGs. But why would I prefer to work with raw over JPEG? Basically, with a JPEG image, what you see is what you get. So if a JPEG image is overexposed, that's it. If this was a JPEG, what you see here is basically white and nothing else. But a raw image is actually digital data, and it contains data even if you can't see it at the moment. So you're going to get the most out of your image if you do use your camera's native RAW format to capture your images. So let's go back to the standard tab, and let's just adjust now. Let's just zoom in here, and let's just adjust the highlights and watch what happens in this area. Let's just move this up, and we can see all of that detail coming back. Now, if I played around with brightness and contrast and whatever with a JPEG image, it would brighten and darken or increase the contrast of the whole image, but I still would not get the detail that I've got here. I can also tweak the range, the highlight range. So as you can see, as I move the slider, I can adjust it here. So again, I've brought back a lot of detail that first appearance looked as if it was lost. So here's another image. Let's just fit this to the screen. Now, it's also important, when we're adjusting highlight, you would think that by adjusting the highlight here, I would brighten up the lighter areas, but I'd also get a lot of color lighting or color changing in the other colors here. Let's just zoom into this area. So just keep an eye on the things that aren't white here. Let's just do that again. Let's just adjust the highlights. And as we can see here, I've now got detail coming back into her dress, but I've made no changes to the skin, the hair, or the surrounding area. This is a highlight adjustment. So we're going to have a look now at some of the tools at the bottom of the screen. We'll be using the other tabs as we're going along. So the first thing I'm going to look at is I've got a big grease mark or stain on this image here. So what I've got here is a blemish fixer, which I could apply from here, or I can go up and click on Open Layer Manager. Now my Layer Manager offers me two types of layers. I can either add an adjustment layer or a healing clone layer, which is what I'm going to do now. So I've got different types of brushes and masking tools that I can use. I'm just going to use a circular healing clone or blemish fixer. I'm going to click on this spot here and then just drag this out to an area of similar color, and that is the blemish fixed. So I also want, in this case, I think the sky is looking a bit washed out. So I'm just going to add an adjustment layer. So for the adjustment layer, I think I'm going to use a polygon tool. In this case, you could use a paintbrush to mask. These are all masking tools, basically. And don't be surprised if I make a couple of deliberate mistakes here, because I'd like you to see what the difference is between before and after. So I'm just going to go around here, and you can see I'm not being too exact here. If by any chance you use a tablet with a touchscreen and a stylus, or you use a Wacom tablet, then of course doing something like this is going to be a lot easier than with a mouse. So I'm just going to do this really roughly. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Never mind, I'll leave it like this. I meant to go across here. Let's just do this one more time. Sorry, I clicked too soon here. Let's do this one more time. So I'm going to do this really quickly now. Right, what you can also see here, if I zoom in, is you can see that the feathering area. So whatever changes I make within the mask is going to feather over between the mask and this dotted line here. So I'm just going to reduce that a bit. And let's apply any sort of change here. Let's increase the saturation, for example. And you can see I've pumped up the blue in the sky. You can see exactly where I didn't do any masking. Just click on the hand tool again. And this is just an example of creating an adjustment layer. You can, of course, add as many adjustment layers as you want. You can turn the visibility of the adjustment layers on or off. So if you have different effects going on here and you want to see what does it look like with both effects or just one effect, you can just turn off the visibility here. So I'm now going to move over to the color tab. Now this is where we can adjust our colors. We can, of course, work with our histogram here or work with specific color channels, but we've also got a color correction in here. So we've got RGB, CMYK colors, but we've also got colors that we can choose ourselves. So I'm just going to click in this blank area here. This gives me this little bullseye icon here. Let's just click on that. And I'm going to aim at this red color here. I can now, by adjusting the hue slider, just go in here and just adjust the hue in this image. Now, if I'm getting some of the original colors coming back in, I can tweak the range here, and this will give me a wider or smaller selection or range of pixels around the pixel color of the original that I look for here. So I can tweak that range here. You see I'm getting some color reflection here, but it's actually a really useful tool if you quickly want to dive in and change the color here. Now we've been doing a lot of adjustments, but let's say I've made some really cool adjustments to an image and I want to save these adjustments so that I can apply them anytime I want to. So let's go back and apply some really quick adjustments here. So I'm going to just up the exposure. Let's push the blacks, add some contrast, reduce the saturation, increase the vibrance. So I've got a really sort of distressed, grungy look going here. So how do I create a preset? Well, down the bottom here, on the standard tab, we have presets. Now you can see there are already some presets in here, but I want to create my own presets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all click on Manage, and I'm going to click on Add Folder. So as I scroll down here, I've got my Untitled folder, which I'm going to give a name, and I'm going to call this Webinar. Done. And now that I've created my webinar category, if you like, all of the adjustments I've made here, I'm going to save as a preset by clicking on this plus sign here, Add Preset. So clicking on this, now in the Save Preset window, we've got two ways of looking at this. The Basic tab gives me a basic overview of the adjustments that I'm saving, but I can't see any details here. If I click on the Advanced tab, and I open this up, it's actually showing me the settings that I have here. So here I've got my saturation and vibrancy settings. I can add or take away from any of these settings as I'm going along. This gives me a microscopic view of what I'm actually saving in that preset. I'm just going to say OK. That preset is now at the bottom. I forgot to give it a name. Never mind. OK, this preset is now at the bottom of the list. I need to add it to my folder. So I'm going back into Manage. And once I'm in Manage view, I can take that preset, drag it up to my presets folder, and say Done. So now when I open it up, I have that preset in here. So if I select a different image, all I need to do is click on that preset, and I've applied that preset to my photos. So let's carry on a little bit more. So fill light. Now we've got a situation in this image where parts of the image are lit quite well, but the other parts of the image are not so well lit. I don't want to actually increase the overall brightness, but what I do have here is something called fill light. And as I increase fill light, It's going to lighten the pixels in the midtone range without over brightening pixels that are already bright enough. So I'm just going to increase that a little bit, and we can see that whole image brightening up without adjusting that. I've got another example here where this works quite well. Here we can see this side of the canal in Amsterdam is brightly lit. This side of the image is has more shadow, so let's just brighten that up, and it just balances up that part of the image. So that's the fill light slider. So I'm just looking at what else we have. Let's have a look at some more tools here. So click on Fit to Screen. So down here we have a really easy to use straighten tool. So I'm just going to click on this. I point my arrow to where I want my horizon to be. Just drag that out. Just release that. And all I need to do now is just crop this. So I'm going to click on the crop tool. Enable the cropping, and I can either choose a preset cropping area or ratio, or I can just, of course, just drag this and just make this fit whichever way I want it to fit, and just click done. So let's have a look at some more tabs that we have over here. As mentioned before, over on the Detail tab, we saw the lens correction a little earlier on. But what we also have here is the ability to sharpen our images. We can remove raw noise. Perfectly clear noise removal also gives you some more defaults here. Sometimes, for example, if you take an image using a camera phone, or you take it where you had very low light levels, you're going to get more noise and more pixelation in the images. So if you use perfectly clear noise removal, you've actually got some settings here that will do an even better fine-tuning of the noise removal. Metadata. Now, when we started looking at the library panel, we saw the metadata here. So where does this metadata come from? Some of it, of course, is actually filled in automatically by grabbing the EXIF and the ITPC data from your digital camera photos. They bring the information with them. But when it comes to keywords, these are things that we can add ourselves. Now, you can, of course, add keywords to an image by typing in the keywords box. You can type in multiple keywords by typing them in with a comma separator. So this, for example, could be dog, comma, shoes, comma, whatever, comma. But there's always a danger that if you just type in random keywords, at some point you're not going to be able to find the images you're looking for because you've forgotten what keyword you used. So a much better way of adding keywords is by using keyword sets. As you can see, I've got some default sets here. If I drop down the list, I've only got this one set of keyword sets that I can use. So let's create our own keyword set. So I'm going to click on Manage. And in the Keyword Manager, we have two panels. On the left panel, we have whole sets of keywords that we can use if we want to, but which haven't yet been added to our keyword sets. So we can drag anything we want from here over to this side. So we've got genre, if you take certain types of photography. Status, so if you're a professional photographer and you want to keyword them by work in progress, needs retouching, etc., etc. And we've got all sorts of different things here. So I'm going to start off by creating my own keyword set. So I'm going to add a keyword set, and I'm going to call this, let's call this vacation. But I have vacations in different places. So within my vacation keyword set, I'm going to add a child keyword, and I'm going to call this UK. So I'm just going to add a couple of child keywords here. but also within the UK, I might be visiting different locations. So let's say Wiltshire, which is where I live in the UK. Or in the USA, I might be visiting Colorado. So now that I've got this set up here, I'm going over to the right panel and I'm going to create the vacation keyword set over here. And I'm just going to start dragging these keywords over onto this side. I'm going to say, I'm just going to close this down now. Now when I go over to my keyword sets, I've now got my vacation keyword sets. So if we imagine that this little terrier was sitting in Colorado, I can apply this keyword set and I can see here, I've got vacation, I've got a hierarchy here. I've got vacation, I've got USA, I've got Colorado. And it takes a couple of seconds to update and refresh here. But at some point, you're going to be able to drill down here, go through your keyword list and search. You can see there are a lot of keywords already in here. And you'll be able to go through this list and just sort for, just search for your vacation. So I've got a couple of things here. So here's my Wiltshire thing. And this is one that I created a little earlier. So this is one of my vacation things here. Okay. So let's go back. And if you use keyword set, whenever you apply keyword set, you know it's going to have a standard name. You know you're going to be able to find it wherever you need it. So I'm just going back and I'm just going to click on my folder here. Now, let's continue having a look at what else AfterShot has to offer. Now, you saw earlier on the Standard tab that I have a lot of presets here. You can, of course, create your own presets, but AfterShot offers you a lot of presets that you can download and use at any time. So I've got here, let's just apply Popsicle to this. That's a really cool effect. So if you click on the Get More tab, it's going to show you everything that you can download to enrich your experience with AfterShot Pro. So first of all, we have the camera profiles. Now, if you're using, for example, a Nikon camera, you can go down here, look for your model. These are all free to download. Now, if you have a Nikon camera and you can't see your camera in here for any reason, click on the feedback button and let us know which profile it is we need to upload there. Okay, so you just go into here and just download. The red star denotes that this is a new edition or a new profile that I can download. So camera profiles. I also have my plugin manager here. Now, some of the plugins you can purchase. This one's on special offer, for example. There are also free plugins to download, and there are some plugins that you can purchase for a really reasonable price. Some of these plugins here I've already downloaded and installed. If you're registered with us and you've purchased plugins and for some reason you get a new computer, you need to install AfterShot again, you can restore your purchases. Image presets. Now, again, the ones with the green tick are ones that I've installed. If you go down here, you've got fantastic preset packs to choose from. Let's just have a little look what we've got here. I think I've already, so this one I haven't yet installed, it's free. Let's just click on this and install it to show you how easy that is. So I'm just going to install this. Click on install and I'm done. And all of these presets you're going to find here on the standard tab under presets. Okay. Now you'll also find some of the plugins you've installed. If you install a ton of plugins, as I do, you'll have plugin tabs here appearing. So I can go into here, I can apply grid if I want to use composition grids when cropping or composing my images. I can add vignettes. I've got a lot of different plugins here to choose from. Now, to protect your work, we've got 5 minutes to go, folks. So I'm really going to try to get everything done in the last 5 minutes. Now, it's really important to protect your intellectual property, especially if you're a professional photographer. So what we want to do is to create watermarks that we can add if we need to. And you can also create as many watermarks as you want and save these watermarks as presets. So I'm going to click on Enable Watermark, and I'm going to give it a title. Let's call this Webinar Watermark. And I'm going to use a text. So I'm just going to... and you can see my watermark appearing at the bottom. So I can actually go in here, I can change the type of text, I can change the font. If I want to, I can change the size, the position, and you'll see it changing here, but also in the thumbnail. So I could add this anytime I wanted to. I can create a preset from this. I can make that a little bit not quite as visible, and create a preset from this. I'm calling this Webinar Watermark. So that's a text watermark. I also have the option to create watermarks from images. I'm just going to browse now, and I've got the little AfterShot bird that I want to use as my watermark. You can see my watermark image. I saved this bird as a transparent PNG file so that I don't have any background here. And I can do the same thing, change the positioning, the offset, whatever I want to do. Create a preset from this, and I'm going to choose this as a webinar bird. Save this and go back to my standard tab. And at the bottom, I've got my watermarks. I need to get these into my watermark folder. So I'm going to click on Manage and just drag those two watermarks up into my watermark folder. So what I'm going to do now, I'm done. So what I'm going to do now is just choose a folder of photos, go into my miniature view, select the whole lot, and I'm just going to apply that webinar bird watermark. And you can see now, if I just scroll in a little bit, I've now got my watermark on all of my images. So it's just a couple of minutes left to the end of the webinar, guys. So I'm going to hand back to Melanie to see if there are any questions that we need to answer.
Thank you, Suzanne. I have a few questions here. Give me a second to sort through them. Okay. No, I don't have questions. I've got a couple questions that I'd rather take offline, I think. So anybody who has asked questions through the question chat to me and that I haven't responded to, I'm going to send you personal follow-up emails just because I want to make sure that I create a response that I'm happy with. And for some of the questions, I do want to reach out to other members of the team. So with that said, I think, Suzanne, I want to thank you for your time. That was an excellent demo. AfterShot Pro has a lot of great, powerful, professional features, and it's very hard within the 45 minutes to an hour that you had to show all of them. But I think you did a really great job showing people the basics and taking them around the interface. I'm going to send tomorrow in that follow-up email to everybody a link to a bunch of AfterShot Pro tutorials as well that are on specific topics. So if there's anything that you're really interested in learning more about, you'll be able to watch a specific video on it. I'm also going to send a link to the comparison between AfterShot, the standard version that a lot of you probably already have if you own one of the more recent versions of PaintShop Pro Ultimate, and just give you an idea of what the difference between AfterShot Standard and AfterShot Pro are, as Suzanne was demoing the Pro version today. So there's a few different features there. I just want to remind everybody too that we have 2 different discounts on offer for your attendance today. One of them being 40% off PaintShop Pro 2018 and PaintShop Pro 2018 Ultimate. Again, in that Ultimate version, you will get a standard version of AfterShot Pro. And you can always upgrade if you feel like you want some of the more comprehensive tools that AfterShot Pro offers. You can upgrade within the AfterShot standard application at a nominal price. It's probably the cheapest place that you would be able to upgrade. So I just want you to keep that in mind. And then, of course, the other discount is on AfterShot Pro through the PaintShop Pro 2019 or 2018 welcome book, welcome tab, sorry. And it's an additional 50% off whatever we already have it discounted to, and I believe it is discounted currently. So you're going to get even more than 50% off if you're interested. So yeah, if you have AfterShot 3, look in the application and see what the price is. And if you have PaintShop Pro 2018 as well, look in the welcome tab and see what the price is and take the best deal if you're interested in upgrading. I will be sending out the link, as I said, to the webinar recording tomorrow too, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And then lastly, I wanted to let you know what we're going to be talking about next month. Our webinar for June is going to be on restoring old photos. So if you're interested in that topic, I hope to see you then. Hope to see you next month. I think that's all I've got to say for now. So thank you for everybody who has attended, and see you next time. And again, thank you to Suzanne.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Have a great day.